But when you see these guys doing this, this is Cern, this is the money that they're spending for the largest machine in the world, going into what I would call an Illuminati production of what they're doing. Many times it's been said that they will let us know in one form or the other what is about to happen on this planet. And it makes sense that the closer we get to these big events, the less coded the message will be. In other words, more in your face. We don't have time. They know that we may not have time to decipher a very complicated coded message. Why not just put it in our face and show black magic, dark forces, the opening of the gate, the entering of the evil spirits? Why not just show us? They have to do it according to general knowledge, that to show us these events ahead of time in order for it, the black magic to work whatever it's going to work. In other words, it's part of their process. So that video is so in your face that it's hard to deny it. Again, you would be skeptical if one of us guys from YouTube that do videos had put that together, but it wasn't us. Cern did that. They're telling us exactly what's about to happen. Now, at that point, once we get that knowledge, you can't stop there. You have to continue researching into what other sources are telling us about this event. That's why I call this show, the things and the pieces of the puzzle started to come together somewhat. And I thought it was important to start this subject, and that we will continue this subject long after this point, once that we see what Cern is actually up to, and they've admitted they're trying to open this gate, the key to the bottomless pit. One thing I want to say also is that in the video that I had linked earlier this morning, that showed the scientists, that talked about the scientists disappearing and reappearing, if you remember, they had said they were running from 30 to 40 TeV. Now, we know that they say they're limited to 13 tera-electron volts now at the current Cern levels, but every time they reach the 13 TeV or 6.5 per tunnel, guys, if you notice those charts in every video I've done, it peaks out right there. It's like clipping. It's a flat line until it comes back below it. Now, is that a preset into the software to where that's all we see, to where it's telling it to clip? In other words, if you know anything about sine waves and clipping, that means that it has went past that peak. In audio, it would be into distortion. Here, it would be into whatever they set the parameters at, so that it would clip at that point or show a flat line and not show the peak power. But in the video that I linked to, they talked about reaching 30 to 40 TeV, opening the gate, a scientist disappearing. Then they had to repower the machine, open the gate again at that high voltage for them to come back. But they had very limited time on opening the gate or leaving it open. And they didn't talk about that in the video, but I caught it. In other words, it was a brief moment. Open, close, open, close. Each time they powered, the lights would go out at the facility, power would go down, and that bright white light would come on. That was when the disappearance and the reappearance would occur. Now, what they did, they burned up the machine in 2012. They come back in, and this thing is rigged, super power. When they first applied for these conditions, they wanted to go to 14 TeV, and that's what they were going to show, but they limited and made them go back to 13. What I'm saying is now under this super machine, so rebuilt and such better and high-tech design with new technology in the world's largest magnets, is capable of doing is much more than 13 TeV. And according to that video earlier, they were running during secret experiments with very limited personnel, super high voltage experiments when these disappearances occurred. Now they've got a machine that's much stronger than that. Point that I'm getting to is that voltage, or that TeV they were running at that time, They could only open the gate momentarily, but now can they leave it open? Will it be open for 5 months of the locust army? We're going to look at that in the Bible, but in other words, you saw at the end of the Cern video when they had a very large explosion. You saw the demons falling back through, and then you saw the appearance of the actual Cern machine, letting you know it's a Stargate, letting you know what's coming through it. It's that close. There's no way they would show us that information and give us the time to break it down unless the time was short. Think about it. Think about what they're doing. And the main thing to me is another indicator of where we are at. So they're telling us they're going to try to open up another dimension. Some say, as in the Bible, parting the veil. But in this case, not to see God, but the actual bottomless pit will be opened to let out that demon army. And that, the way that they operated most of the time, if you read in the Bible, when Jesus encountered the demons, they had possessed a human being. It wasn't a demon, it was a human being that was possessed. And remember, Legion, we are many, can be in one body. And that video from Cern today, breaking down the symmetry trailer, showed very high levels of possession. Notice also when the scientists, after the explosion, when the lights went out, you saw the spiritual body of the scientist go into the white light, or the area inside the circle. His physical body remained inside the Cern plant. He sat down at the controls of the computers that fire these things up. He had his hands on the controls. As the spirit body was doing the dance inside the circle, the Shiva dance, it showed the same scientist doing the Shiva dance on the platform inside the Cern facilities, implicating that no matter that anything that the possessed spirit body was doing inside that circle, that the physical body had to replicate it, imitate it, and follow every command, even the dance. But it was not about the dance, it was about when he sat down at that computer following orders to open this thing at full blast and open that gate long enough for everything to come through. That's what the video was implicating. It wasn't just one demon, it was multiple demons coming through that gate. And that's what they want. Even the scientists there do not fully understand what they're doing. Only the ones at the top. And from the video this morning, talking about the scientists disappearing and reappearing, it appears that possession has already occurred there. That the leaders that are now leading them down to this high power levels that they're about to reach, they say in September, that it's a madman. It is a satanic possession inside one of their scientists that will have full control and with a group, because it's happened twice that was reported back before 2012. Now, they have broken all power records, remember, this year at 13 TeV. What has occurred? How many more people are inside that facility that are possessed now waiting to be part of the team on multiple computers that sets this thing up? It takes a few hours with a full team. Remember in the video I talked about it took them 24 hours with a team of 3, I think it was. And remember in the video that it showed the watch stopping, time stopped, and in the video this morning, the lady could see what was their leader or their boss inside the facility, the head scientist in charge, appear in the same place at 3 different times on the video monitors. And that implies the Einstein theory about time stopping. It goes into the black hole theory. But there was things in both videos, and then backed up again by Cern producing their own information, that point to some very serious things. Now, when we talk about opening the bottomless pit, you cannot help but relate it to 8 places in the New Testament. There are 8 different places that talk about the mark of the beast. I want to go through a few of those because I think it's very important that we link this together, because when we talk about the New Testament especially, even though the living word has been through both the Old and the New Testament from the beginning, that in these 8 references of the mark of the beast in the New Testament are for these end times. So let's just kind of go through a couple of these. I want to point out some of the information I'm talking about. If you look at one of the first times, you want to open your Bible, Revelation 9, and it's talking about the 5th angel, and we've talked about it many times on my videos. Let me just kind of start here, but it says, "And the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven into the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit." Remember when the scientists fell back? Remember when the possession occurred and the machine at Cern was run at full power? And then you saw the demons come in. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there rose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and to them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. Now remember, they have it for 5 months. Think about that. This is what we're talking about. So you need to be very careful on how you study Revelation 9:1. Look at what's in our face at Cern, and it makes it become very clear. It says, "And it was commanded in them that they should not hurt the grass," pay attention, "of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not." What do they not have, guys? The seal of God in their foreheads. If you have that seal of God in your forehead, they cannot torment you. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months, and their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh the man. Now, let's go back to 9:4 for a moment. It says you can't hurt any green thing, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. What other seal or mark is mentioned in your forehead or in your right hand? It's the mark of the beast. And I've said this before. The mark in your forehead of the beast is that in your mind. That's what in Hebrew it means. The mark in your forehead is what you believe. You believe the Antichrist that's coming first is Christ. But if you don't believe that, if you have not been deceived, then they can't touch you. Imagine this. Imagine how important it is in these times that we're being exposed to and living day to day in the headlines. Imagine how important it is to understand this. What the seal of God in your forehead. Remember, I've said before, the mark of the beast in your forehead and in your right hand in the Hebrew means in your forehead is that you believe the Antichrist coming that's appearing to do these miracles before man, mimicking Christ, that you believe that he is actually Christ. It's not a forced mark. It wouldn't work. Satan wants to be worshipped, so he's got to do everything he can to mimic the return of Christ. So if you understand fully the problems with the pre-tribulation rapture and other doctrines, and this teaches you that you will not be here when you need to be here and be prepared, because the first one coming is going to be the one that rips the tares up and burns them in the fire. Now, that's not the position you want to be in, believe me. But anyway, they cannot hurt you. This army cannot hurt you for these 5 months. The only way they can is if you believe that Satan is Antichrist. If you have the mark of the beast, not the seal of God, both places in the forehead. And that seal of God is the knowledge that Christ gave us saying that in those days after the tribulation you shall see the Son of Man coming. In your patience possess you your souls, and those that endure to the end shall be saved. What does he mean by that? What does he mean, endure to the end? Think about it. He needs his warriors of this last generation to stand up. It's very important you understand that there's 2 marks or 2 seals in your forehead. That will determine if this 5 months of hell from this locust army can torment you. Let's move on to another verse. Now, in Revelation 9:15, it talks about the vision that was there. And it talks about all the plagues that are coming down upon man. It said the 4 angels were loosed and were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay the 3rd part of man. And the number of the horsemen were 200,000,000. And I heard the number of them, and thus I saw the horses in the vision and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and jackets and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire, smoke, and brimstone. Very important verse. Who in the Old Testament wore breastplates? Remember these having breastplates of fire. It was the priest. It was the priest that wore the breastplates, except those priests had different colored jewels, beautiful, gold encrusted breastplates. These are breastplates of fire, brimstone. It's not the same, but what does it say? They're coming pretending to be religious. And in their tail and in their mouth, the people that believe that Satan has came to this earth and are waiting to be taken out or protected by him, or just been so beat down by the one world system that they will take any leader. They're the ones that's going to be tormented. Remember, as the plagues go through, men don't repent. It says, by these 3 were the 3rd part of men killed, by the fire, by the smoke, and by the brimstone. How were men killed? How were they delivered up to death? By this breastplate. These false preachers. Are they teaching you the word? For the power is in their what? Mouth. Their lies. And in their tails, for their tails were likened to serpents. Who was the leader of the serpents? We know. And had heads, and with them they do hurt. The power is in what? Their mouth. So we know from Amos, in the end times the famine will not be for bread, although we see that around the world, but the main famine, because we're talking about a spiritual battle, is Amos says it will be for the lack of the Word of God. You can go to and fro, and you'll find plenty of churches. You'll find plenty of breastplates of fire that appear to be the breastplates of the Levitical priesthood of the Old Testament, the true priests that God selected. He selected them because of that particular bloodline, something they had done in that battle with Satan in heaven that qualified them to be the priest. Now, think about what I'm talking about. This army that's being built is going to be the priesthood. How is it going to work? Remember, the gate is opening so that the possession can begin. And how did these people get possessed? Because they're already setting themselves up with this false worship, this false doctrine. You can see it in their eyes. They're already almost possessed. They're already offering themselves up for money. So this locust army is going to be, what I'm saying is, what this is pointing to with these breastplates or these priests of fire and brimstone, is that the churches that people run to, they will get nothing. They will come away hungry. They will be confused. What does the Luciferian doctrine letter say that we read many times on this show? It says they will exhaust you morally, spiritually, physically, with war, famine, everything, so that you will accept any doctrine. And they will bring about in their Luciferian doctrine of light, the false light. This verse, this chapter, Revelation 9:17, tying it in with the information we have today, guys, and you cannot overlook 9:17 that says breastplates. That's Christ's way of telling us. It's coming through the priesthood. One other verse. Let's go to Revelation 13:4. Although you can look through and search, you'll find the word mark many times in the Bible, but you'll have to get into the New Testament and you'll see the last 8 references to the mark are all about the mark of the beast. You'll see different words and stuff, but the last 8. But I want to go to Revelation 13:14. And it's talking about the same thing. And it says, it's talking about the beast. And he says, and he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth. Does that ring a bell about what I'm talking about? How does he deceive them? Everyone's looking for a religious answer. They're looking for the return of Christ. So Satan's job is to make the world so miserable, so much war, pollution, radiation, that we're so beat down that any promise of help looks good. It says, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which has the wound by a sword and did live. That's what he's talking about. There's going to be miracles performed once he's here. And people are going to be amazed by these miracles and run to these churches, except they're going to starve to death spiritually, thinking that maybe next week they'll preach something from the Bible without twisting the words, or maybe talk about something else, or maybe actually teach. Now, let me finish just 4 more verses in this Revelation 13 that I want to read. It said, he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. He said, speak, remember the mouth. Christ said that some of us would perish. But at that moment, if you perish with Christ, in the twinkle of an eye, you will be on his side of the army. Think about it. Revelation 13:16, and he causeth all, both small and great, all, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and in their foreheads. Remember, the mark cannot be forced. If they force it on you, you're just going to hate them worse. The mark is an accepted thought in your forehead that this is Antichrist. And he calls it all. How does he cause it? By the miracles and by his mouth, the words he speaks. He doesn't hold you down and shoot you up with a chip. And he says, in the right hand, in Hebrew, again, I've said this before, that's symbolic of your work. Do you work for his organization? Do you tithe to it? Do you support this new church that we see growing very rapidly, just waiting for the beast to rise and take full control? Do you support that? Then you have the mark in your right hand because you believe the teachings of that church in your mind, the false teachings, what little you get, is the truth. And what happens when he says, and that no man might buy or sell, say he that had the mark or the name. Remember, it's not just the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So you don't just have to have, so many people say, a mark in your hand, or he says, or the name or the number. That in your mind is what you believe, and it means the name. You believe the name. You believe that it's his time. You believe that this one standing there is the true Christ. But he has, remember, deceives the whole world, except his elect. Many of you are listening tonight. Here is wisdom. We're going to go to the phones. Revelation 13:18. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. The priests are men. The leader of the priests will appear as a man. Christ appeared as a man. Satan is going to appear as a man. The 666 that you see here is 666 years, or 666, excuse me. That can actually be traced back to Adad, before Apollyon. Apollyon in mythology replaced Adad of the ancient text, and that was his number. If I remember right, 600 was the family name, 60 was his father's name, and 6 was his name. In other words, the king line had numbers assigned to their name also. And that number was 666. And remember in Revelation it says Apollyon. And that is exactly what it's implying. This can be traced back from this very verse, I believe, to the actual individual. Now, he will appear as Christ. But Christ appeared as a man. These times are growing short. Things are in our face. We need to stop playing with the word of the Lord and get into it and understand, because I've had this happen to me. I've talked to people about the book of Revelation, and I don't bang my head with it anymore. I learned that years and years ago. If you plant a seed, walk away. If the Lord wants it to grow, he'll water it and let it grow. But guys, you've got to go into this word and understand this is not, as they said, I don't want to read that book. It talks about dragons and demons coming up out of the sea and serpents and multi-headed, and not understanding what the symbology meant. And the fact that much of this symbology was hidden until the end times, until you could actually see it or starting to occur. Does it make complete sense? Even though each year people have gotten closer and closer to the true meaning as things unfolded, now we see things that are moving so rapidly. Jerusalem encompassed with armies, a third of the oceans being destroyed. And before I go to the phones, I want to thank everyone so much about helping us with this drive. It's 100% non-profit. It's 100%. All the funds go completely to our project guys at it's called FukushimaRadiation.info. Check it out. We have gotten up to, I think, close to $2,500 in this week. And we're being patient. Nothing has been spent. We have both the expenditures and the amount that's been donated on the website. Not even the website money came out of that. That fund is strictly to get us to the point to where we can put it in their face. It may take us another week or two to get to where we have enough strength to do something with it. But as I said in the video today, guys, 15 or 20,000 people on the average over a 48-hour period will watch our videos. Sometimes much more than that, sometimes less, but average. And $1 a piece, guys, would put us at 2 months. 2 months on the major LA intersections with the big digital billboards at over 80,000 impressions. Think about that. One video, if everybody put $1 in, we could get 2 months. Think about it, just $1, guys. And many of you have helped. We would not have been to the point we are at now. And that money that we have in there would buy us a digital billboard in a smaller market for a couple of months. But we need to hit it hard and heavy. We're going to be patient. I know time is short, but we don't want to waste the money. We want to hit with power. So you guys get together. We built a Facebook page today that goes along with the site. It's linked on the last video, and it's linked on the site. But that may be, I don't know much about Facebook, and my wife set it up, Tina, and thank her for that. But I had so many suggestions that may be a way to get more information out. So use it and share it, how you do Facebook. I really don't know, guys. But it's there. And there's a Twitter account where I can go in and post if we have a special show, I think. Again, I don't know much about that. But I knew that in this day and time it was important to use every means possible. And you guys, if you know of other means, come on and let me know about it, and we'll try to use those to further this message, because we're fighting two battles, one on the physical world, and we're trying to make people aware of Fukushima. In other words, we're going to go down fighting for this earth. And on the spiritual level, with information that we're talking about, both tying it into what we're seeing in the scientific, technical world, and back into the higher spiritual knowledge of what's important, because we all know that we will lose this body and that eternity will be in our spiritual body. Think about it. So in these last days, it really matters how we spend our time. And there's nothing more important than spreading the word, the living word. But you do that because you care about people. The same reason you would tell them, don't eat the fish in the Pacific right now. We're trying to get together some information and money to maybe get some technology over there and at least stop the bleeding. But it's all part of the same project, caring about other people. But guys, I'm going to start here at the top of the list and go to the phones. Area code 870, I'm going to kick you in. I've said this every show. Our dashboard does not indicate if you're calling to listen or calling to talk, so I don't mean to trap you, but we're going to go for it. Area code 870. Caller, are you there?
Can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear. Who have we got?
This is Mike from Arkansas again. I talked to you last week. I just want to tell you thank you for showing me that site, the Shepherd's Chapel.
You like that?
I've learned a lot.
It doesn't take long to learn when it's taught right, does it?
Not at all. And he's got 3 YouTube channels, and all 3 of them's been helpful.
Yeah, I highly suggest that, guys. If you want to learn more about what I'm talking about, what Mike is talking about is Pastor Arnold Murray on the Shepherd's Chapel. He talks exactly about what we're talking about and has been doing it for 30 years. We lost him last year. Marine from the Korean War that knew the Hebrew and Greek Bible. Taught out of the King James so people would understand, but he knew much more. But Mike, I'm glad that you checked him out. It's a blessing to you if you're trying to learn more about the Bible, because you can go there 24 hours a day and learn a new chapter or verse that he's teaching. And I like the way he starts at the beginning of the Bible and teaches the entire thing, chapter by chapter and verse by verse, as he likes to say it. But, it's definitely a blessing.
But I figured I'd just jump on here. I'm kind of listening tonight, but I just wanted to say thank you for that info.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Call back anytime. We got a few more callers. We've got a 2-hour show, so we're just getting into it. We've got an hour and 23 minutes left. I want to try to get every caller. Sometimes the dashboard will fill up to where we cannot do it, and I know we start talking to our guest, and sometimes it kind of gets carried out and long-winded. But we usually get pretty good information and good feedback. But thank you, Mike, for calling. I'm going to go to area code 479. Caller, are you there? Area code 479. Hello.
Hi, Jesse.
Yes, who we got? Hey.
My name is Ginger. I'm here in Arkansas, and I've listened to you for a long time. I thank you for the information you put out, and I've learned so much from you, and I also watched Shepherd's Chapel, and I've learned a lot from him. What I'm wanting to know is this: when they open this gate, are we thinking, that demons are going to be manifesting everywhere? Because I'm still confused on this. What do you think is going to happen Wednesday when they go full power?
It looks like when the demons emerge, it will be a process of possession. In other words, we won't see, I don't think, now I may be wrong, and I learn something new every day, but it appears that it's going to be a possession deal to where, of course, he's going to run the priesthood because he's leading to the Antichrist coming. It's a religious, spiritual thing. So we're going to see, I think, the priesthood and the leaders of the world, bankers, military, the politicians, and preachers, and priests from the Vatican on down, possessed. Remember the breastplates I was just talking about? And they hurt you with their mouth because they're lying. I think it's going to be about possession. That's what I feel. That will be our main thing.